Reducing fractions, we always need to look for factors. If there's addition, always factor first. Make sure you use parentheses. When reducing any factor in a numerator with the same factor in the denominator is how we'll actually get the most simplified form of the fraction. So in our first fraction, x squared y cubed over xy to the fifth, if I want to factor that, if I want to break it down so it looks like a bunch of multiplication, I would have xx times y over x, and then 5y's. To reduce, I would divide both the numerator and the denominator by the same factor. So I can cross out a y, another y, another y, and one x. Now when I'm crossing these out, I'm saying that y divides into y once. So these big lines are like big fancy ones. And so if I wanted to write back what was in the numerator, the only thing not crossed out is x, and the only thing in the numerator, the denominator, is y squared. So that's how you go about reducing fractions. Let's try it again, this time with some numbers. 10x to the 7th y cubed divided by 6x cubed y. Well, 10 is 2 times 5. A bunch of x's. I believe there will be 7 of those. And 3 y's. In the denominator, 2 times 3 is 6, and then 3 x's and just 1 y. Again, when we reduce, it's a common factor in both the numerator and the denominator, and the key word here is a factor, something involved in multiplication. So x goes into x once, x goes into x once, and y goes into y once. Left in the numerator is 5. Those 3 x's are crossed out, leaving you with 4 more. And 1 y is crossed out, leaving you with 2. In the denominator, the only thing not crossed out is the 3. In our last fraction, again, we want to try and reduce, and what we're going to look for is factors. Notice that x squared is not a factor, it's a term. It's separated from the 4 with the addition or subtraction sign. In the denominator, we have 3 terms. We don't have any factors whatsoever in this problem to begin with. So this is when you see addition or subtraction, you really want to try and factor to see if you can reduce. To break down x squared, we'll do an x and an x. To break down 4, we'll use a 2 and a 2. The last sign is subtraction, so the signs are going to be different. One's a plus, one's a minus. And there, in fact, there is no middle term, so that works. Then in the denominator, we have to break down our x squared, which is an x and an x. We have to break down the 4. Remember, you do have choices, 1 and 4, 2 and 2. But 1 and 4 won't give you a 4. 2 and 2 will. The last sign indicates that they're going to be the same. What they're going to be are subtraction signs. So now when I want to reduce the fraction with factors. The same factor in the numerator that shows up in the denominator. So when you reduce these factors, you have to take all the stuff inside the parentheses together and reduce that. So the reduced form of this fraction is x plus 2 in the numerator, x minus 2 in the denominator. So that you're not tempted to cross out the x's and these 2's, I suggest that you leave all plus signs and minus signs inside parentheses. That way you won't be tempted to cross out something that does not reduce because it's not a factor.